So I'm talking to Michael Holding to understand how a long arc underground artist designs and enhances community beyond the moments created so that creators and curators like you can build scenes, not just events. So Michael Holding, known to many as em.ash, has spent over 2 decades shaping underground culture on Vancouver Island. He's a DJ, producer, and curator whose work is rooted in deep house and techno, expanded through groove driven bass, and informed by a growing global palette that includes disco, Afrobeat, amapiano, and left field bass. But what makes Michael interesting isn't just his sound and production, it's who he is and his long game. He's helped build DIY ecosystems, returned year after year to community run festivals like Woodstove, and consistently prioritizes deep journeys over massive builds and breaks. This conversation isn't just about tracks and lineups, it's about how taste is formed, how trust is earned, and how community can be designed to last beyond the moment. So,
Ooh,
Michael,
hello.
thanks for being here with us
Mhm.
at the
Thank you.
Festival and Space Makers Network.
Yeah, thank you for
Um,
reaching out.
yeah, so I guess I'll just jump right in.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking a bunch about some of your upcoming events and stuff like that a little later. But first, I thought it would be great for people who are listening and watching in to just know a little bit more about some of the earlier sides of you and just some of the thoughts that go through your process when it comes to DJing, production, and also creating events. So I guess we go way back,
Been a
being
bit. Yeah.
being mid island, all the way back to the Carrington Bay days and the Mex and through the ages. I could ramble on,
Mhm.
but let me just ask, what's something from your early life as a DJ that still quietly, maybe sometimes I romanticize like a point of inception, sort of a movie point where you're on the dance floor and it all becomes clear. But is there something in your early life that still quietly shapes how you play, how you curate, and how you engage in
Uh,
music?
yeah, certainly. I mean, I started out uh I started out just listening to electronic music, getting introduced to it. I had friends back in Ottawa in high school who had started going out to raves, who had started picking up DJing, and I was very new to it. We went out to a five-stage party in a ski resort in Quebec that was like a 45-minute or an hour and a half bus ride from downtown Ottawa. I just remember walking out uh, of the room into a beautiful morning sunrise where it just hit me that this was one of the most amazing, fundamentally beautiful experiences that I had ever had. Kind of a eureka, kind of a spiritual moment as well, because you're in the moment of all the energy of the dance. You've been slogging through the late night, and now the sun's there. It hits you with warmth, and you just have this moment of like, oh yeah, this is why we go to church. This is, and Sunday mornings, it's pretty simple, but yeah, just the feeling of elation on the dance floor, the feeling of unity, loss of oneself, but still um, retaining one's perspective. It's very cathartic for me.
Yeah, that's great. I like hearing a story about from back east, and yeah, I think a lot of people have similar moments. And I think something that's interesting about raving, as it sort of to rave is to sort of rave on, and something about how our bodies also respond to work and how
Mhm.
we're kind of bounded by the laws of physics here on planet Earth. And when you rave hard all night, you're also putting this physical effort in and sort of exerting and kind of getting all of the positive effects that you get, what your body needs from movement, as well as that. It kind of, I believe sometimes with that sometimes uh, walk first and then the like lead with the body and the mind or the spirit will follow. Sometimes you need to kind of get that dance out, and part of that cathartic moment is that work of dancing all night.
Absolutely. I think there's so much. there's so many studies coming out now about the mind body connection in terms of how dance is fundamental to neuroplasticity and being able to retain youthfulness in your day through dance. But it's also like, it's shamanic, it's primal, it's getting back to those fundamental roots of how do we figure out this problem right now when it's dark? Oh, I don't know if we can, but maybe if we start walking around enough, we'll see something to spark our interest. So, yeah, no, it's the connection is human. It's what it is fundamentally. It's that connection of being human in the moment and letting yourself connect with just sort of a greater experience. Sorry, the cat is in the room and it needs to go, so I'll be right back.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, just reflecting on that, I can really kind of feel what you're saying when you say that. Um, humans dancing together, kind of this process can take place, especially if you have like places where maybe say multiple groups of people are coming from different walks of life, or different tribes are all meeting together to all have an annual event of some kind over human history. And the positive first order effects that come from dancing and communing together, where we are sort of sharing ideas, sharing genetics, sharing even saliva for the purpose of sort of, as germs evolve along with us. And just this process, that process of dance and togetherness, is tapped into in the rave culture, and like you said, is fundamental to being human. So, there's lots of different ways that everyone dances together and joins together. And as DJs in the modern era, sonically, we make our choices. So, maybe so when you listen back to say something like Together versus some of your more recent mixes, Reflection mixes,
Yeah.
or something like that, maybe you could describe to people sort of some of the differences between those two bits of work of yours, and how your how your
I mean,
taste has changed. And
certainly, certainly. Like, there's a radical difference for me in terms of what I put out artistically as a producer, and what I curate and craft in terms of a DJ experience. Primarily, that comes from a deep-rooted lack of self-confidence in my own music, and always wanting to put the best experience forward for the dancer, and all of that. And sometimes, I think all artists deal with a little bit of self-consciousness about their own creations. I'm thankfully, after so many years, finally breaking past that. You know, I look back, the Together EP was a bit more of an esoteric artistic statement. The majority of my music is dance floor driven. It occupies that canon, even though it may not necessarily be, ooh, dance floor. Um, Whereas in DJ sets and curation, I am far more aware that people are here to dance, people want to have a good time, and I want to share with them uh, music that makes me dance and is new and exciting. So there are very much two separate points that I'm starting from an art, from a production standpoint versus a DJ curation set. Obviously, there's a lot more room in a longer curated set where you can delve into a lot more ideas and different storytelling and different emotions. Whereas oftentimes, as you look at a club track or a DJ track, it's fairly linear. There's not a lot of space you can have an idea, but to really explore a lot, like, deeper concepts, you really need more time, you need more flavor, you need different emotions for context. Um, so productions, those are little bits of snapshots, little memories, little points of interest, whereas the DJ sets, I think, are more of a love language in terms of me communicating with the dance floor, of saying, Here's what I'm feeling. I don't have the words to give you, but I have this music and I have this bass line. and I have that little drop or shuffle or fill, which just, gets me. And if it gets me, I'm confident it'll get you too.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's great. Like, and just for, I mean, a lot of people who watch this may completely understand what Michael's saying in terms of like the difference between the production and the DJ. And I think it's a really good thing to note and make note of a when a performer or on a lineup when it says so and so is performing and it says something to the effect of all their own originals. That's a lot different and should be understood by the listening audience a lot clearer that this person is sort of presenting their art, whereas the responsibility a DJ has to the room, to the moment, to the dance floor, um, is there's a big difference there, and
I
um,
I make a distinction in a number of conversations with friends about the difference between play and performance. I find the DJ niche allows for both. But when you're performing your own original productions, just as if you're showcasing original art or original photography or something like that, it's very much more of a performance of what you have done. It is the polished final piece. It might have that studio quality to it in its presentation. Whereas, when you're a little bit more fluid, you can look at jam bands, Grateful Dead, Fish, all that kind of stuff. They definitely have a large play element within their performance. But as a DJ, I find that, well, sorry, as a producer, I find I'm locked in more into that performance presentation. Whereas a DJ, I have a lot more freedom to either present you with a curated experience or we can go on a very exploratory journey over a number of hours together.
exactly. So on that exploratory, that kind of leads over to sort of the next question, which is when you're playing a set. So you're now in DJ. We're in DJ mode here, and of course while you're in DJ mode, you might be dropping some of your own killer tunes in because it makes sense, right? So some percentage of your own tunes are getting dropped in. But when you're DJing and you're in DJ mode, what signals are you looking for from the audience in terms of their attentiveness to what you're doing? And how do those signals maybe affect how you might change, where you might go in terms of the sounds that you're mixing in?
Well, I mean, if they all go out for a cigarette at the same time, I can tell it's probably not the most engaging piece of music. Um, it's reading the crowd and the dance floors is a fundamental skill within what we do as DJs and presenters of music. When we are specifically trying to engage the audience for dancing, obviously you can sort of get a sense of, you can zone in on individual people who, you might have a direct connection with on the dance floor, and you might, have that impetus. It's like, oh, I see you. I want to make you dance. And I want to, you hear a lot about that. Um, but there's also just sort of a general tone, that you can just more of an energy field that I guess it's the accumulation of different visual cues from the eyes of a certain dancer. The manner in which does the crowd all bounce at the same time with the drop? Um, are people a little bit more sort of on the fringes, going out, maybe getting a drink or taking a fresh air break or something like that? If there's a lot of motion and movement in the crowd, then you probably want to stay pretty simple and you know make that very direct in terms of like really solid groove, really good hook coming in to really draw people and get them centralized. Um, but also there's a letting go. Also, I find for myself, um, I know that I want to present the music that I want to present, and I'm perhaps a little bit egocentric or self-serving in the sense. I feel that if it's going to make me dance, it's gonna make you dance. Just because it takes me a lot to, get into my body and really let loose. I know that if something hooks me, then, like, it's getting through a lot of layers of resistance. Um, so it it grows over time. when I was starting out DJing, I would have to really be looking at, one person to really get a sense of if they were engaged or not. Now it's more of a general sense. Um, it's always important to check in. But of course, you're very focused in those moments, and sometimes you can just read that energy cleanly, and you don't need to be, checking in on every single dancer.
Mhm. Yeah, everyone is different. Every crowd is different. Um, Sometimes the full intense concentration and trying really hard and actually not paying attention to the crowd can win a crowd over sometimes because people really see that you're really working hard and ultimately looking at people obviously like a good there's a reason why rock stars are rock stars and why front people in bands are so effective because people who are guiding the room are very good at connecting with individuals and
Certainly.
maybe finding the hyper people on the dance floor and getting them going and getting them to kind of they become your allies on the dance floor where now they are going out and getting people going and where to eyeball and all those things become a sixth sense over time. And then of course you need to be technically aware of what you're doing enough that you have the time to watch the room and
Certainly.
every DJ is going to look for a balance there and everyone's different. There's no like steadfast like breakdown of percentages of what you should or shouldn't be doing.
I
And
think I
yeah.
think and, this might be a little cliche and probably goes against a lot of the hopes and dreams of new coming DJs. Um, I think it's fundamentally important for a DJ to understand what a warm-up set is. Everyone when I started out, I wanted to play the big tunes. Everyone wants to play big tunes. Everyone wants to have the huge party in front of them. Absolutely. The dopamine and adrenaline hit is like nothing else. But having to build a dance floor from zero, having to start at a place and realize, okay, maybe that's not connecting as much. Having to be aware of where we need to be for the headliner or the next DJ from where we're starting. I think those are fundamental skills that contribute to the ability to read an audience, to be able to have confidence in your own building steps so that in those moments of concentration where you are focusing on the more technical aspects, you can have confidence in yourself that that will translate through, even though it might not be the most visually or actively engaging action behind the decks. Um, I think to be forced to go through those processes of slowly building up a dance floor from zero to hero, I think really hones in your ability within the craft of DJing to, you know, uh, to be receptive in the ways that are positive.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I think that's actually, I've never actually stated it or thought of it that way as it is like it's not like you're not good enough to play at peak, but as there's tuition fees associated with watching from going from zero to a hero. And actually some of my favorite sets are pulling everyone in together at the beginning. And, so I guess we're kind of talking about part of what we're talking about, or to pull a little bit of the conversation to the side, is we're talking about DJ performance and we're talking about charisma. And I think that being that we come from we've been at it for quite a long time. A lot of what you do is, in there's an underground element to it. And I think, you know, back in the day, there was a lot less emphasis on the DJ, and you would have sometimes DJs even in the back of the room, or less lights on the DJ. It was all about the dance floor, and I think people who come from that era really understand that that was sort of one of the pure parts about raving. Of course, now we have fancy stages with lights, and we're actually you and I are just talking about how to sort of work human charisma into the room and how
Mhm.
important that is as a DJ. So young DJs say are seeing. I guess I'll just pull the question around, which is there is there something um, what's a belief about underground music culture or DJ culture that you've sort of quietly come to disagree with? And you could flip that question around if it's more
Well,
applicable, which is like, what
sorry.
have you come to disagree with about mainstream DJ culture?
Well, so, I mean, with any distinction, between styles or something, you have an element of gatekeeping, fundamentally. You know, anytime we distinguish ourselves from something else, there's a sense of, "Oh, well, you fit through this door or do you not fit through this door?" So from that aspect, I there's a lot of snobbery, there's a lot of nose in the air. I'm certainly guilty of it myself from time to time musically. A lot of, "Oh, well," I think underground versus mainstream, what does that really mean? I mean, mainstream is often a lot of people's first introduction point to this music, to this culture, to being able to experience a festival in a different way. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with commercial, mainstream, easily accessible music. It's fundamental for growing a culture and a community. Um, what is termed underground, I think yeah, comes from a sense of, "Oh, it was better back in the day." Um, but I think there is a different level of music appreciation that comes through experience that is more prominent in what is deemed underground, than is necessarily my experience with more commercial stuff. And again, I'm speaking only from my experience. I'm not speaking from anyone else's. Um, Underground for me is, it's less about the whiz bang stuff on the sides. It's more about the fundamental reason why you're there. You're there for the music. You're there for a great sound system, and you're there hopefully to be exposed to music you've never heard before, and to have stuff that just makes your brain go on a beautiful, beautiful journey.
Mm.
Um, Whereas I find mainstream stuff it is more about that immediate dopamine, that immediate that and I'm not trying to be dismissive of it, but there's an element of candy. There's the here you go, here's your sugar, here's your sugar, here's your sugar. Whereas I find in more underground environments, there is more, deferral of that gratification, for into a longer arc, so you don't have to, so you can get lost in it more, and I find that you can't get lost in the music as much when it's a larger, big commercial sort of mainstay, stuff.
Mhm.
But again, this is entirely my preference and my perspective, and I certainly don't want to yuck anyone's, enjoyment or try to say that their enjoyment is less valid than mine, because that's
Absolutely.
definitely not the case.
Absolutely. I learned this as a young kid on the mountain, and I need to get this, in my younger days, the snowboarders would hate the skiers, and the skiers hate the snowboarders, and it's like, "Come on, guys. We're all sliding down things. We're all sliding down
Yeah,
fast on snow. Like,
yeah,
let's get over
exactly.
it," right?
Yeah, yeah,
And the 85% of the experience is still sort of there. It's with the
yeah,
people we love, it's listening to music, being sonically taken away,
yeah,
um, and I've
yeah.
always appreciated that about you, that non-judgmental side. But you also want to design, and you want to produce, and you also want to
Yeah.
design events that are sort of to your taste. So abstract audio,
Mhm.
you have an event coming up. Do you want to just go on a bit about abstract audio and who it is?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Abstract Audio is a series, of events put together, uh, by myself, Mark Gerard, Jenny Mack, and, a couple other collaborators. We've been, slowly working at this, over the last, I guess, maybe year and a half or so. Um, w we have shared experiences between us that, we all really, seem to work together and have a commitment to producing a high quality event that, um, I don't know, it's just rooted in something that we consider to be a little deeper, um, a little more hypnotic, a little smoother. Um, Again, not focused on, the big drop or a big party moment, but very much rooted in community vibe, inclusivity, um, and the hope to create sort of a pocket of magic. What we like to do is we like to take a space and we like to transform it so it's a unique experience to you when you walk into the room and you're sort of taken away being like, oh, I thought I was walking into this room, but here I am in this amazing thing. We definitely focus on more uh, deeper underground house techno, dub influence, minimal tech, um, definitely fewer vocals than you might hear at a Waverly show. um, but again, just a focus on quality above quantity. Um, Highly technically proficient mixers and DJs who have amazing tested curation, deep, deep back catalogs of stuff to pick from. Um, and getting back to a little bit more of sort of the heyday of, we're all strangers in a room dancing in the dark. Um, and that's just fine.
Mhm. Yeah, and I mean, let's not and shout out to both Mark and Jenny. Mark's amazing DJ, and you guys are bringing in a high quality sound. He brings in high quality speakers, and Jenny, who's amazing as well, does great little adventure festivals around, and
Yep.
has built our stage at Pacina, the Cabana
Yep.
stage, and has
Yep.
helped there for a whole bunch. And she loves creating environments. So I know
The
your last event was super decorated, and like you said, the space is transformed, and it
mhm,
seems like a really good synergy between. And I know all of you individually, and I think the outcome of what you guys are going to do is going to always be a high level experience. So that's pretty exciting. We've talked about spirituality a bit, and music is healing, and I think it's probably almost too obvious of a question after, but it sort of has to do with, like, is there ways that you think about how music heals, how you design, say, an abstract audio night, and
um,
is there
you know,
talk
I
too?
I think it's a bit more holistic than that rather than intentional, in so much as, for me, I find the healing aspect to be in an inclusive space where people feel safe,
Yeah,
where people can dance the way that they want to dance, be themselves without reservation. Um, that to me, providing that space where people can have moments, for me, is the healing aspect of it.
yeah,
Um, you know this very well, also from the variety of things that you've helped produce and create. There, there's always a question of, oh, did we do it as right, or is this little thing, or is that detail? But then when someone comes up to you, looks you straight in the eye with complete honesty and vulnerability, and just says, "Wow, I really needed this," or "This moment is super special for me. Thank you so much." I that's a huge gift. And I don't try to make these events or curate these spaces or do it to receive that gift, but to be able to contribute to someone's positive experience and memory, to me, is one of the most healing acts that you can do, be it as someone on my side or be it as someone who's participating with the event. As I said at the beginning, dance is fundamental in terms of my understanding of who we are as an animal and as a species. So as we are perpetually more away from our bodies and locked into digital spaces and confined to, a single chair, movement is an act of rebellion almost. And if you are feeling oppressed, the only way to heal that is rebelling against that oppression and standing up against it, and expressing yourself and saying, I'm going to feel safe, and I'm going to feel confident as who I am. So those are all together, like, as I say, it's a bit more holistic rather than you
yeah.
know pinpoint intention.
It's a positive byproduct that takes place, and yeah, was working with a paragraph worth of thinking the other day about how joy is, in a sense, resistance, and joy is a powerful thing in the face of all of the various terrible things that we can, what we have to see throughout the world. And yeah, so okay, so the listeners inspired. They want to do things like this. They feel what we're saying,
Yeah,
but we want to give them a couple quick answers to a couple things that have
sure.
to do with maybe. So what it is looking back, is there a trade-off that you accepted early that made what you do long term possible? And I always joke about like, oh, I should have been a plumber, or I should have instead of a tree planter, because the tree planter gave me all this extra time, and then I kind of got into event promotion, and it's a crazy thing where it's super risky and scary and stressful, and it's
Yeah.
like I should have really been a plumber, it's a joke, but could you kind of words of warning or advice on how what people may need to trade off to accept that they may be in this space making, community building kind of long game, and what does it take to do that?
I think fundamentally, no one's going to do it for you. As you know, I still fight against the desire to have someone sweep in and book me to a label, just out of nowhere. But the fact is that, that's not going to happen unless you put in the work to get noticed. With any event, with any goal, fundamentally, there's always a lot of talk, but someone needs to take that first step forward and say, okay, I'm committing to this. I'm booking the venue. We're setting this date. Um, we're going to make this public announcement. So now we have to do it. Um, getting that first foot forward and recognizing that even in a collective, no one's going to necessarily do it for you.
Yeah, you got to
Um,
take that risk. You got to do it. No one else is there. And uh,
um, the
sorry.
other the other yeah the other thing is, um they sort of, these 3 points sort of go together. 1, no one's gonna do it for you. 2, you can't do it by yourself. And 3, make sure that the people you have surrounded, around you or you're working with are in line with you in terms of expectation, ability to give, and what their or at least clear communication in terms of what they can give. But having a having a clear goal, a unified direction, that everyone has committed to and agreed to, certainly makes the effort less imposing, even though it may still be heavy and be a lot. If you know that you've got the support of a team behind you that are all, geared to the same, and have committed to the same idea and the same goal, that makes, you've got support there. You can know at that point that while you will not necessarily do this for me, I can rely on you to do what you've said you'll do, and to do it well, and to do it to the level that we need to make sure that this hits all of our boxes. um, those are probably the three biggest lessons, I think, in terms of actually making a thing happen from my brain to a ticketed full on it's happening event.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's
and
interesting how you lay out like that, because it's like no one will do it for you, but you can't do it alone. I love that. It's like, and then the third one is really a layout of communication and setting intentions and all of that jazz, and all of that, could all of that could be great. And then people change over time. There could be
yep,
multiple years that go by, and that continuous touching back in and a process of communication is what I'm hearing. To add to that, so like if someone wants to build a real scene, or help to, maybe that's the wrong phrasing, but to contribute to a growing culture and scene, and to put their contribution to, and they don't want to just throw a party. Um, what's the first responsibility or something that you think people might underestimate? I always call it like you think you're going to be like Mr. Fun Guy, but then you're picking up cigarette butts while everyone's back at the after party.
well, we have we have a dear mutual friend, Garden, who has a very telling song for your Monday morning cleanup, which goes along the lines of "It looks like we're partying, but really it's hard work." And I think I think that's the thing that you need to know about. Um, there's a radical difference between doing a thing for your friends, like a house party, where there aren't really any stakes and you can do whatever and you can be in whatever state that you want to be in, versus putting on a professional tier event. There's a line of commitment that is very clearly drawn in the sand that if you want to do this, probably need to be fully in your wits and capable and be on point to do this well. Otherwise, you will likely have more anxiety or mess to deal with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, you know, it if you're not looking to just throw a party and one and done and da da da. Um, Recently in the Comox Valley, going back to the pandemic, the best example that I can give is Eddie Road with his movement with music projects. With During the pandemic, we did socially distant silent disco events for in a very you know, officially health regular da, 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 all those things. But what it did was people love seeing energy and commitment and people doing things, and that's contagious. And when they see someone really committing to an idea, it promotes other people's to contribute. So if you are looking to start something, find a way to show that commitment that it's something passionate and something you want to do. Tell people about it. When they're interested, you know, they're gonna gravitate and help you out. And the more you do it, the more it builds, and then all of a sudden you look around, you're like, "Oh my goodness, we've got a scene, we've got a community, we've got, 20 people who know that they're gonna be here all the time. We know that we've got 10 people who are itching to help carry things, move things, do. We've got it." And, yeah, again, it comes down to taking that first step. Just give it a shot. See if there's a if you're all about a certain style of music that you don't see represented in the shows or the opportunities, ask around, see if there are others who are of that, ilk and style, and see if you can do a small community. It doesn't have to be at a bar, it doesn't have to be at a show like at, you know, a big 300, 400 person venue. Find a small room, do a small grassroots thing. See what it's like. Test it out. Take a chance. Test it out. Lose a couple $100, but at the end of the day, if you lose a couple $100 and you learn how to do a show, I mean, that's the best kind of education you can get, and that $100 will come back to you eventually in the whole thing of the whole roundabout. So, oh
Absolutely.
yeah, and don't prioritize money because there's an illusion that is probably held over from decades past, that if you're throwing a show, you're making money. The reality of the music industry does not support that, and unless you have, multi-tiered hedge funds backing the thing, there's no I find it difficult to see how you will make a lot of money. Passion is fundamental to doing this, as with any art, as with anything that you want to give yourself completely to. You've got to believe in that passion and you got to do it because you got to do it.
Yeah, we got to wake up and breathe it. We talked about that with multiple people in the past. That's beautiful, man. Michael, what is there anything that's we didn't talk about that we should have, or is there anything that's like you're really excited about that's at the in the front of your mind right now? Um,
Um, yeah, well, I mean, abstract audio is very much in the front of my mind. Our next show is March 21st. And we're going to be releasing the information on that on February 1st, so I'm not going to spoil it just yet. But we've got a really great headliner coming in, and we're really, really excited. And we've got a couple summer dates that are to be confirmed that will let people know. People should sign up to our mailing list to get advanced notice about those. Artistically, I've got a remix coming out on So Tight Records in hopefully in February from my buddy Raf in Victoria. It's a big sort of like high intensity techno banger. It's exciting to get another remix out and another project out. Other than that, you know, one foot in front of the other, trying to make it all happen, trying to promote just promote the positive side of what we can do, and let people know that if I'm around, you're safe, and this place is welcoming to you, and fundamentally, that's what's important.
Well, thank you so much, Michael, for everything you do and can have done and do and continue to do, for your dedication. And yeah, it's true. When you're around, and someone needs to be safe, you can be that person, and you have been from every year I've ever known you. And the Mid Island, North Island, Vancouver Island in general is lucky to have you dedicated. And I just hats off to you. And all of
Appreciate that.
that info will be we'll put all of those links and stuff we'll put into the show notes and whatnot for folks. And just
Fantastic.
yeah, big thanks to you, Michael.
Cheers. Well, really appreciate it, and throughout the years that we've worked together, as I say, you're someone who has stepped up and done it. You're someone who has had a vision and said, "You know what? I'm not waiting for other people to do this. I'm gonna find my way to do it." So, fundamentally from that point, you always have my love and appreciation for that, and, I recognize that, it seems a glamorous position to be in, but it is rarely as sparkly as people see it from the outside. So, thank you for all the hard work that you do. Thank you to all the for all the hard work that you and your team do together in terms of elevating the music experience on the island. It's definitely appreciated, and we would definitely be having a worse time without it.
Well, let's keep it going, brother, because I don't think
Absolutely.
either of us are going to quit anytime soon.
No, not a chance. You can't quit lifeblood.
All right, man. We'll take care, and we'll talk to you soon, bro.
All right. Thanks so much.